President Biden today presided over the annual White House turkey pardon. Well, he didn't exactly pardon them. He just turned the investigation over to Merrick Garland, and then it just kind of petered out.
Hey, that was a big joke on late night TV last night at the expense of Merrick Garland. See, because they wanted him to lynch Donald Trump and everyone in his White House. The left is a very bloodthirsty lot, as any school child will tell you. Well, happy Tuesday to you and welcome back. Got a lot going on. Big stories happening here. Talking about slashing and cutting the government, cutting agencies, cutting spending. Very upsetting to the Democrat Party. They don't want to hear anything about reducing the size of government. They're against that. They're in favor of growing the size of government, increasing spending, increasing the number of illegal alien gang members wandering the country. They're in favor of everything bad and nothing good. I remember we used to have a soundbite. We don't have it anymore. It was disappeared. I think the NSA did it, of then Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. And he was giving a speech, and he was explaining to the international community. It might have even been at the United Nations. It could have been at Columbia University, because they invited him to speak there and treated him with great respect and honor. And he said that the goal of Iran was good things for everyone, bad things for no one. Good things for everyone, bad things for no one. I'm in favor of that. So that was an area of agreement that Mahmoud Ahmadinejad and I had. That was some time ago. Good things for everyone, bad things for no one. I like that. I miss Stinky. His nickname was Stinky. His Stinky Ahmed Genocide. And remember, we called him Ahmed Genocide, too. He was Mahmoud Ahmed Genocide. And his code name was Stinky. Because you could just look at him, satellite photos. You're like, oh, yeah, that guy. He's carrying the aroma of the old country over there. There's no doubt about that. So we got that. Now, I've got stuff going. One of the articles, and I mentioned it yesterday, and then I didn't get to it because too much stuff. The Democrats giving me too much stuff once again. But fun stories today, too, new ones. Donald Trump Jr. says his father may remove mainstream media from the press room. And they're already panties in a wedge. They're already very upset. And we should put Joe Rogan in there and people like me in the White House briefing room, the James Brady briefing room there. But let me get to that in a little bit, because a friend of mine wrote an article that I mentioned yesterday, and then I didn't get to it. My friend Scott Hoganson, who's been on sea cruises, wonderful little daughter that he's got who just couldn't be more cute, came along on sea cruises too. And the headline in the Town Hall, townhall.com, can we take back the English language now? Can we take back the English language now? Now that the Democrats have lost and DEI is on the ropes and on the run, because there are reports all over the place now that big companies and small companies are doing away with the radical left-wing stuff, the DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, that the left is using to corrupt absolutely everything, because that's what they do. But can we take back the English language now? By Scott Hoganson at townhall.com. Life comes at us in cycles, he writes. Tides rise and fall, moons wax and wane. The pendulum swing from side to side, from left to right. Lately, Democrats' fortunes have been waning, definitely waning, and so has their woke ideology and lexicon. One leading indicator is Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez removal of her preferred pronouns from her X profile. Yeah, we were laughing about that a week ago when that happened. Hey, look, AOC has taken away, and she had her pronouns were she and her, which is kind of what everybody expected ever since she was a bartender late at night, all that stuff. But never mind that. A move so seismic when AOC removed her she, her pronouns from her X profile. A move so seismic that it made the news in India. That's absolutely true. It made the news in India and spawned many gags across social and traditional media. Joking aside, never underestimate the power of language, especially concerning politics, governance, and the ideologies behind them. Marxists pay a lot of attention to language. Yes, they do, and dialectics and the manipulation of language and words. The commies have always been all about that. That's why they take over college campuses and so on. And he writes, and we should too, according to the 1929 essay, Marxism and the Philosophy of Language, language etiquette, speech tact, and other forms of adjusting and utterance to the hierarchical organization, that's like the patriarchy, the hierarchical organization of society have tremendous importance in devising the basic behavioral genres. See, this is the Marxists. They love to torture the language and bend it out of shape so that they can manipulate it more easily. Language affects behavior, and we need to take back the English language. Now, as a public service, here's a small list of words and phrases worthy of being thrown in the ash heap of history. And I think that's absolutely right. And then he says, and I love this because I talk about this too, workers, the first word that we have to do away with. Workers. This is number one on my personal hit parade. Communists yell, workers of the world unite. People who have jobs in China, North Korea, and elsewhere can call themselves workers if they like. But Americans are not workers. They are employees, staff, trade professionals, journeymen, craftsmen, contractors, etc. Stop using people's talents to a leftist trope, reducing, rather, people's talent to a leftist trope. And, I've been saying this for a long time. I don't like workers. I like to say employees. I like to say the people that work there. I like to say a lot of things. But and I've always tagged it to communists as well, just as Scott Hoganson is doing here. And he's correct, of course. Workers, workers, workers of the world. The next one Scott has is toxic masculinity. These are terms, words, and phrases we should stop using because the left has infected the public discourse by using these toxic words and phrases. And the second one that Scott uses is toxic masculinity. Arsenic is toxic. Lead is toxic. Masculinity is not toxic. Masculinity means being a stand-up guy, a mensch, a regular Joe. If some miscreant assaults women or slaps them so hard they spun around, who are we talking about there? Might be talking about the second gentleman, Doug Emhoff of the United States of America. They're boorish pervs and criminals like Joe Biden assaulting women, right? Like Tara Reid, his staffer on Capitol Hill. Arrest them, try them, and jail them if they're guilty. They're not toxic. They're just expletive deleted. Next term, biological men. See, this is I agree with Scott on everything here, and I mock these phrases too. Men are not biological men. They're just men. If a guy has requisite chromosomes, he's a man. Using a 5-syllable modifier is silly, and that's biological, of course. Please stop it. Oh, wait, hat tip to Chris Plant. Says hat tip to Chris. I honestly didn't even know that was coming. Next, biological women, IBID. Chest feeding. When the Secretary of the Department of Transportation became a father, he's a man, he's a gay man. He has a husband who's a man, who's a gay man. And somehow they got, I believe, 2 children, right? And they sent out pictures of him wearing this weird apparatus, like a vest that has fake breasts on it, and he's chest feeding. And this is like, oh, I'm a man, I'm a gay man, but I got a son from somewhere. Now I'm going to have fake breasts with fake baby formula or something. And I'm going to, and Pete Buttigieg did that again and again and posted photos. Chest feeding. Only a science denier would say this. The chest is that part of the body between the neck and the abdomen. Chests do not lactate. Lactation is accomplished by functional mammary glands in a woman's breast, which is why only women nurse babies. Injecting men with ungodly amounts of hormones doesn't count, and it doesn't work. Next phrase, assigned at birth. I don't care how many degrees somebody has. Nobody assigns a sex to a newborn baby. They already have one. It's so obvious that you can spot it before they get smacked on the bottom. It's true. You have, an ultrasound, and hey, you know what the sex of the baby is, what the gender is going to be. The little fella, the little girl. Aside from the minuscule percentage of people born with physical abnormalities, humans are born male or female. Exactly right. You got a hermaphrodite every now and then, probably a Democrat, and the Democrats should just settle for that. Birthing person. Can we please stop denigrating women? I love women. I'm married to one. I helped make another one. Only women get pregnant and have babies. Nobody else does that. The people who do that are called mommies and mothers and women. Equity. Another phrase, another term. Life isn't fair. It never has been and never will be. We don't have to like it. We just have to accept it. We're not equal in talents, interests, and motivation. So we all experience different outcomes in life. Equal opportunity? Yes. Equal outcomes? No. Equity is something you get by paying down your mortgage, not some bigoted social engineering grift. And next one he goes at is gender. Social scientists scribble thousands of words explaining gender. Democrat social scientists, too. And, Michael, how many genders are there in the San Francisco? They were giving out free money to people if you identified as transgender. And then they listed, I think it was 135 genders, and they just made it up. And it's an attack on science. It's an attack on common sense, and it's an attack on language. And manipulating language is part of what totalitarian regimes do. Scott continues, gender. Social scientists scribble thousands of words talking about gender, but it's actually pretty simple. Gender is what you or somebody else thinks. Gender is what you or somebody else thinks. Sex is what you are. Stop talking about people's gender and start talking about people's sex. Then, existential threat. Aside from Vladimir Putin nuking Ukraine or an earthbound meteor the size of AT&T Stadium complex, almost nothing is an existential threat to this planet. That includes the weather. That's very good. The world has been hotter and it has been colder than it is today because climate changes all the time. This is what I've been saying forever. Climate changes. See how that works? Miraculously, we're all still here. Go figure. Native Americans. He says, I was born in America. I am a native of that country. So great. And then he talks about the Pali-Up tribe of Indians, and, that's good enough for them. That's good enough for me. Call them tribes. Call them what you want. Living my truth. That's a fun one. I like that, too. Living my truth. So give me a break. It's no more your truth than it is mine. Only true things are truth. Get used to it and spare us the narcissism. And the last one is undocumented migrants. Undocumented migrants. Stop using these terms. And honestly, I tend to I do this for a living, though, but I tend to call people on this BS. And I think we should all start calling them on it. And we should turn the channel when you see the news media using this phony, radical, left-wing extremist terminology. And at Thanksgiving dinner, just laugh and pass the potatoes. Remarkable stuff. So that's good. And it's absolutely true. We need to take back the English language. I'll do my part from here. Thanks to Scott Hoganson there on Town Hall. Good stuff. All true. Now, recent reanalysis of a study shows that a year after having an abortion, women exhibited a 50% higher likelihood of first-time psychiatric treatment, needing psychiatric treatment, and an 87% higher likelihood of personality or behavioral disorders after having an abortion. This isn't women's health care and abortion. It's the exact opposite, in fact. And a great organization, Preborn, Preborn's network of clinics. Well, women are welcomed with open arms, and they're shown the little baby growing inside of them with an ultrasound and offered life-affirming choices. Now, that's choice. When they choose life, the young mothers, they're offered assistance for up to 2 years, including maternity clothes and diapers and counseling and so much more. Preborn helps to treat the whole woman and the baby growing inside of her. Donating to Preborn is very simple. All you have to do is dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. That's pound 250 and the keyword is baby. Or you can visit online preborn.com/plant. Preborn.com/PLANT to make a donation, whatever you can make, small or big. All gifts are tax deductible, of course, and Preborn has a 4-star rating as a charity. Yes, sir. Yeah. Also, a remarkable article in the New York Post I want to share with you. Tragic Ashley Babbitt, right? Tragic Ashley Babbitt and the buried January 6th truth. That is coming up.
Donald Trump does pose an extra threat to this. It's not hypothetical, his threat to this nation.
Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at washingtontimes.com/Chris. All right, and then charges dropped, cases dropped against President Trump. That's coming up as well. Right now, let's go back to the telephones. Let's go to Mark calling from the great state of Arkansas. Marcus, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Thanks for having me. Yes, the existential threat needs to be kept because the existential threat to America is the Democrat Party. And just one more point on the Senate voting on the president's picks. It says in Article 2, Section 2, Paragraph 2, it says advice and consent. It doesn't say nothing about the senators voting. It says advice. That means, Mr. President, I don't like that guy. And consent means I don't care if you like him or not. He's my guy, my administration, my men. I'm going to do it the way I want, and you agree with it. Right?
Well, that happens. That happens when the Senate, as happened in the first Trump administration, when the Democrats in the Senate refused to even bring nominees up for votes. And so we had the acting secretary of this and director of that because the Democrats sabotaged everything. But, Mark, I got to say, I mean, your opening salvo, the existential threat, we got to keep that term because the Democrat Party is an existential threat to the United States. Alec Baldwin is a Hollywood actor. He was in that Hunt for Red October movie. That was a good movie. And Working Girl. I think he played himself in the movie Working Girl. But he was in Italy, the country of Italy. It's a beautiful, wonderful country. Nice people, great food. Beautiful place, surrounded by seas. You know, it's very nice. But he made headlines when he was speaking to a group at a film festival in Turin, Italy. Turin, Italy, like, you know, where you might find the Shroud of Turin, for example. And Alec Baldwin, who is 66 years old now, 66 years old, born in 1958. He's at this film festival in Italy, and somebody asked him to speak, and that was a big mistake. You know, Alec Baldwin most recently was made famous again because he shot and killed the cinematographer of his last film. The film is called Rust. I don't know if maybe I think the films are in canisters somewhere and the canisters are rusting because I don't know if they ever finished the film. I don't think so. Did they? Did they ever come out with a movie? Nobody knows. I think there's some report that they did, but nobody saw it. So here is the story from the Daily Mail in the United Kingdom. Alec Baldwin's shockingly out-of-touch comments about, quote, uneducated and, quote, Americans. And, look, he hangs out with Hollywood people. And Hollywood people are uneducated people by definition. They're ignorant people. What they do know is wrong, right? The old Ronald Reagan line, it's not that Democrats don't know anything, it's just that so much of what they know is wrong. And so Alec Baldwin hangs out with this gang of not very bright, not well-informed people. They think they're well-informed if they watch Morning Joke in the morning, maybe catch 15 minutes of CNN. They might glance at the front page of the Los Angeles Times. But the story in the Daily Mail is kind of fun. Alec Baldwin claimed that Americans are uninformed while appearing at the 42nd Torino Film Festival in Turin, Italy, on Monday. The Rust actor. That's funny. He's just the Rust actor. That's actually how he should be known, isn't it? The Rust actor. 66 gave his scathing assessment of the American worldview, stating that Americans know little or nothing about world issues during a press conference, he says. Now, now we've got audio of him because it's on camera, and he's now there. You go to Italy, everybody loves Italy. I certainly love Italy, and you're at a film festival, whatever. You think they're showing his film Rust because somebody's got to see it? I don't know if they ever finished it because he shot and killed the cinematographer, and the .45 caliber bullet went through her and injured the director too, because 45 is a powerful round. So here's Alec Baldwin in Turin, Italy, at the Turin Film Festival, the Torino Film Festival. And he's talking to like-minded lefties because they only hang out with each other. Alec Baldwin.
In my country, without going into significant detail, half the people in the country are happy, and half the people in the country are very unhappy.
Very sad.
It's a very difficult time in the United States.
It's difficult. It's a very difficult time because, they didn't vote for Trump. And when Trump was president, there was no war in Europe, no war in the Middle East. Our borders were secure. There were a whole lot of women that were alive because they hadn't been murdered yet by Venezuelan gang members that came illegally into the United States and were transported around the country by Democrats using our taxpayer dollars and all that good stuff. So half the people, and he speaks to them, even though, that half of them speak English and the other half are getting translation. He speaks to them slowly like they're idiots. Like maybe if I speak slowly, the Italians will understand me. Half of the people in America are happy, and half of the people in America are unhappy because they voted for Kamala Harris. If you voted for Kamala Harris, you started out unhappy. You have every reason to be unhappy because your brain, she's a no good. She's a broke, just like a Joe Biden. It's a brain. That's a no good. So Alec Baldwin then going on again about Americans. And keep in mind that the reason for this is he lives in California and he's surrounded by Hollywood people who don't know a thing about a thing. There are a few executives that are smart with money issues and they have a decent handle on what the public wants in terms of motion pictures. That's a very small number. And the rest, they play dress up and make believe. They smoke a lot of dope, do a lot of coke, and probably have a number of different sexual perversions. Alec Baldwin.
There is a gap, if you will, in information for Americans. Americans are very uninformed about reality, what's really going on. With climate change, Ukraine, Israel, you name it, all the biggest topics in the world, Americans have an appetite for a little bit of information.
Yeah. Again, in California, these are the people he hangs out with. He hangs out with stupid people. He hangs out with Hollywood people who everybody knows, other than, again, a few managers. They're all a bunch of dimwits, and we see it on parade every day in the corrupt, filthy media. Americans are very uninformed about reality. Climate change, Ukraine, Israel, whatever. Everybody's very uninformed. Now, honestly, if you're an MSNBC viewer, that's true. And they only hang out with each other because nobody else wants to hang out with them. Isn't that amazing? And then, the apocalyptic stuff, and it's all America, America bad.
Now is probably one of the most important times in our history for us to make films that will teach people about what reality is around the world.
Because we all look to Hollywood longingly, hoping that Hollywood will produce something that will explain to people what reality is. Because dress up and make-believe and shooting, you're a cinematographer and you're a director, now that's reality. That was a bit of harsh reality right there. Isn't that amazing? So you are worthless, Alec Baldwin. You are worthless, Alec Baldwin. One of my favorite songs, at least from the movie Team America World Police, sung by Kim Jong-un. Such a great scene, I thought.
You are worthless, Alec Baldwin. You are worthless, Alec Baldwin.
Kim Jong-un.
Every way, and now my stock in you has fallen. Your career is stalling, and you're worthless, Alec Baldwin. That's why I blew your head off, and your children are all boring.
The North Koreans, they're like that. That's Team America World Police. Now, that's Hollywood helping people. But it's a very small number of people. Matt Stone and Trey Parker, and they do funny stuff. Little Kim Jong-un. Then he put Hans Bricks of the United Nations into the shark tank and fed him to the sharks. So, yeah, Alec Baldwin claimed that Americans are uninformed while appearing at the 42nd Torino Film Festival in Turin, Italy on Monday. The Rust actor, 66 years old, gave a scathing assessment of the American worldview, stating that Americans know little or nothing about world issues during a press conference. There's a hole, he said, a vacuum, a gap in information for Americans. The Hollywood Reporter had the video, and they posted it on Al Gore's amazing internet. Americans are very uninformed about reality. He said, again, projecting the Hollywood reality upon the rest of us. What's really going on, he said, climate change, Ukraine, you name it. He started to say Israel, but that's left out of the transcript because he was talking about Israel, too. He started to say the word. The biggest topics in the world, Americans have an appetite for a little bit of information. Well, if you listen to this radio show, you've got an appetite for a lot of information. That's a fact. You listen to this radio station, you have an appetite for a lot of information. And you are well informed. You have an insatiable appetite for news and information. And you're aware of the fact that so many in the media will feed you untruths. So you come to sources that you know will share verified truths and of course, make fun of the people involved.
Uninformed about reality, what's really going on with climate change, Ukraine, Israel, you name it.
And he went on to say that the vacuum in information is, quote, listen to this, filled by the film industry, not just the independent film industry, not just the documentary film industry, but narrative films as well. Now, this explains why everybody you know is a moron. Because, Hollywood doesn't fill in the gaps of knowledge. That's not how this works. Name a film that is really informative, that makes people more well-informed when they leave. Maybe Barbie. Maybe the Barbie movie makes us more well-informed. That Oppenheimer movie was pretty good. I knew all that stuff by the time I was 10 years old, but the production was just fine. So we're all uninformed. And, I got to hate Alec Baldwin because, the old old saying, guns don't kill people. Alec Baldwin kills people.
Well, the trigger wasn't pulled. I didn't pull the trigger.
So you never pulled the trigger?
No. I would never point a gun at anyone and pull a trigger at them. Never. That was the training that I had. You don't point a gun at me and pull the trigger.
Very highly trained. He's trained just enough to point a pistol at a woman and pull the trigger when there are bullets in it and there aren't supposed to be. But he lied. Which one was he lying to there? That was, Stephen Up. That's what I thought. That was Steffi. And he said, oh, okay, he just accepted that. And that's why nobody trusts the media, because George Stephanopoulos is a Democrat Party apparatchik and nothing more. Isn't that amazing? Womp, womp, womp.
So I'm going to let you know just how I feel about what a rude little pig you really are. You are a rude, thoughtless little pig, okay?
Alec Baldwin talking to his daughter. Do you think he brought her to the 49th Torino Film Festival?
I don't give a damn that you're 12 years old or 11 years old or that you're a child.
12, 11, however old you are. This is Democrats, and then they grow up to be transgender schizophrenics that womp, womp, womp. You know, like hanging out with the Menendez brothers, talking about your parents together. Isn't that amazing? Just great. All right, we have a great many things still to get to, and I love this story from the Daily Wire. Donald Trump Jr. says his dad may remove mainstream media from press room. Quote, I'd love to see Rogan, meaning Joe Rogan, the great podcaster, in the White House briefing room, the press briefing room. Trump Jr. told Daily Wire host Michael Knowles Donald Trump could reshuffle the White House briefing room to give podcasters like Joe Rogan more prominence than legacy media outlets, his son told Daily Wire host Michael Knowles on Monday. Knowles floated the idea during the appearance on Trump's Rumble show, Triggered, it's called, noting that mainstream media bias has reached new heights. Said, I wonder now, as your father is assembling his team, as maybe Caroline Leavitt is looking at new press briefing room chart, a new press briefing room chart as to where the reporters would be sitting. Maybe it's time to reorder that chart, maybe take away some people's seats. Now, I can tell you, because I've been around this town for a long time, that the seating chart in the White House briefing room, the James Brady briefing room, is actually arranged by the White House Correspondents Association, by the news reporters. They have an association. And the president of the White House Correspondents Association, and I don't know who that is right now, they are actually in charge of who sits in the front row and who gets that seat, and it's all agreed upon by the White House Correspondents Association. You know, they have the black tie dinner every year, the White House Correspondents Association, where they invite the president, except when Trump is president, because they have to show their bias in every imaginable way. Isn't that great? And Trump said, so we're going to break some news here, Trump said, noting that he literally just discussed this with his father and Elon Musk after last week's SpaceX missile launch, which was quite a cool one. Trump told Knowles that the president-elect floated replacing legacy media outlets in the White House press briefing room with, quote, Rogan and guys like you, Knowles, right? I'd love to see Rogan in the White House press briefing room or even rotate guys out, Trump said. Now, you can pick this fight. There's no doubt about it. You can pick this fight, and it'd probably be a fun fight to pick. And they can certainly give access to Joe Rogan and to me and to others like me. But they're going to have a fight with the White House Correspondents Association, which is fine. That's just fine. I've been to, I don't even know how many of those dinners, White House Correspondents' dinners I've been to. A lot of them. So many that I can't tell you off the top of my head. That's a fact, Jack. Starting when Reagan was president, when they were really good. Womp, womp, womp. Yes, sir. This holiday season, if long days on your feet are wearing you down, remember hardworking Americans deserve better than pain slowing us down. For those who keep the country moving forward, G-Defy shoes. G-Defy shoes deliver on comfort and support with patented VersaShock technology. G-Defy shoes help absorb impact, help support your posture, your feet, your legs, your back, gives energy back with every step you take. My best girl and I, they sent us pairs of G-Defy shoes. We've hiked around the city. And I said the first time we wore them, I said, man, your feet feel better after your hike than they felt before your hike. Your arches feel real good. G-Defy. G-Defy shoes. Visit gdefy.com and use the code Chris, C-H-R-I-S, like normal Chris, for 50% off any order of $100 or more. That's the code Chris for 50% off orders of $100 or more at GDEFY.com. Stand strong and step comfortably this holiday season. That's GDEFY.com. Alec Baldwin, Hollywood. Lefties, they all hold our country in contempt and think they're smarter than everybody else. But they never check to see if that gun's loaded, do they? All right, Trump freed from election fraud charges. That is coming up. All right, now let's go back to the phones. Let's go to Mick, calling from Purcellville, Virginia. Mick, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Señor Chris, ¿cómo estoy?
Señor Mick.
Hey, Elon Musk is right again. Just about everybody in America walks around with a camera in their hands, and they're able to get to a disaster or report something before, news media gets it and cuts it up and changes it. And they pass on the video to a podcaster. Anybody can have their own podcast. Even Larry O'Connor has a podcast.
It's true. Absolutely true. Yeah, no, you're right. And you're talking about Elon Musk saying, hey, we're all journalists now. After Election Day, when journalism, breathed its final breath, and Elon Musk pointed it out. And you believe Elon Musk is right, that we're all citizen journalists because of the technology, and here we are. We can share with the whole world from our phone. So to heck with the New York Times, right?
Yes, and the legitimacy of the news anchors are plummeting to the muddy bottom. And don't you think?
Oh yeah, look, I mean they've committed professional suicide, and it took quite some time because we, the American people, are very forgiving and understanding. We're like, okay, we know your left-wing outfits, and we know that your opinion is everywhere in everything that you do, but we'll go ahead and we'll shuffle through this stuff, and we'll pick and choose what we want. But now at this point, what we've done collectively as a nation, and all the polls show this, is we've moved on from CNN and MSNBC and NBC and the New York Times and the Washington Post.